It is very important to say that none of us go through life without experiencing adversity or severe events. Losing one's job, being affected by illness, death, divorce, and other difficult things are a part of our conditions as human beings. For many, many years, psychologists have tried to understand why some people do well, even though they experience adversity, while others develop anxiety or depression. How and how well we cope with adversity says a lot whether we are mentally robust or not. Mental resilience is, in short, your ability to cope with challenges and difficult events. It is a psychological skill or ability that you can learn, and you can think of it a bit like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And you can also use the picture of a cork plug that gets pushed under the water and bounces back, because resilience is the ability to rise again after adversity. It is actually not challenges or problems in themselves, but our way of seeing a situation that becomes very, very crucial to our ability to cope with adversity. No human being is immune to severe events, but the important thing is that we can actually become better at mastering them. From science, we have learned that robust people have a more optimistic explanatory style. And your explanatory style actually affects your life in ways you may not realize, because it can minimize your stress response or it can maximize it. Your explanatory style can actually motivate you when you're faced with challenges or leave you feeling vulnerable to them. There are 3 facets of how people can explain a situation to themselves. Each one can lean towards optimism or pessimism. These 3 facets are stable versus unstable, global versus local, and internal versus external. The first thing to be aware of is if your explanatory style is stable or unstable, and this has to do with how you perceive the permanence of a situation. Do you see it as changing across time, or is it unchanging? Do you expect things to get better or worse, or stay exactly as they are for a long time? To see a situation as stable or unstable makes a very big difference in how stressful something seems. Because if you're experiencing a stressful situation, but you know it will be over in a couple of months, it is a lot easier to deal with it than something you know you have to deal with for years. Global versus local has to do with if a stressor is specific to a part of your life only or your whole life. And a good example of this is the feeling of having a good or bad luck. If you feel yourself to be unlucky, one negative experience may seem like an omen that more bad things are to come. And likewise, if you attribute a poor performance at work as being due to something global, like a perceived inability to do the job well, one failure may seem like a sign of more failures to come. And on the other hand, like someone who views one poor performance as being a sign of a bad day, or maybe lack of sleep or lack of food, something more local, will have an easier time to shake off a failure. The last facet has to do with if you see a situation as due to internal or external factors. So this is actually about, do you see the course of an event as within yourself or outside yourself? So if you're having a difficult day and you see it as being your fault, you'll feel more stressed than if you see it as due to factors other than you. And likewise, when you're facing a conflict with others and seeing the problem as being rooted in something that is their problem rather than your fault, it can help you to take things less personally and feel less hurt. So if many people have the same complaints about you, it helps to look at what they're saying to assess whether there is something you may want to change. But generally, it helps to know that many of people's complaints can have more to do with them than with you. As you may have guessed by now, robust people and very resilient people tend to have a more positive explanatory style. That is an explanatory style that minimizes stressful situations as unstable, local, and external, and they take credit for positive experiences as being more stable, global, and internal. So right now, I would like to ask you to think of a situation that you find difficult. Maybe you're facing adversity or a certain crisis at the moment. And I would like to ask you, do you see it as stable or unstable? That is, do you see it as something that will change across time or as unchanging? Will it be over in a couple of months or will it take longer than that? Then I want you to consider this difficult situation you're facing right now. Does it have to do with a specific part of your life or your whole life? What I mean is that even though there is something right now that is difficult, that doesn't work, doesn't function, can you still see or find out what parts of your life that actually works well? The last thing I want you to consider is the cause of this event. Do you see this difficult situation, crisis, or adversity as having to do with something within yourself or outside yourself? I really hope that these questions will be helpful for you in order to train yourself to develop a more positive explanatory style, because this will help you to minimize stressors in your life. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, please give it a like and share it as much as you want.
All my doubts have disappeared under street lights. Couldn't give a single fuck about those hard times. It's just delirium. My old friends on shitty